Okay, example 12, a hard disk in a computer rotates at 3,600 revolutions per minute. Find the angular speed of the disk in radians per second. So, rotational speed, you see it rotates, and it's going to be either revolutions or radians or degrees per unit of time. That's angular speed. All right. It's going to be some unit of angle. Radians, degrees are ways of measuring angles. Revolutions is a full turn of the circle. So if it says revolutions, that's not an angle measure, but that represents one full turn of the circle. So this is telling us this hard disk is going to rotate 3,600 times completely around in a circle, 3,600 times in a minute. That's our angular speed of this hard disk. So let's start off with our rate of 3,600 revolutions per minute. Now if we go back to our unit circle we discussed the other day, we start at 0 degrees, we go all the way around the circle. Where do we end? 360 degrees, okay? If we're in radian world, we start off at 0 radians and go all the way around the circle, we end up at 2 pi radians, okay? So, if we're dealing with a circle, one full revolution, we're either going to go 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. So, what I know for facts about revolutions, radians, degrees, what relates those three things, one revolution is equivalent to 360 degrees, which is equivalent to 2 pi radians. Okay. Now know, the other day when we did 5-1, day 1 and 2, when we did conversions, we did 180 degrees equals pi radians, right? If you take this fact and divide both numbers by 2, 180 is equal to pi, right? Mm-hmm. But if we go with 180 and pi, we've got to go with a half a revolution. So just to make life easier, it's better to go one full revolution, 360 degrees, 2 pi radians. We're dealing with angular speed. So we'll use this. If we're dealing with degrees and radians, we can still do pi radians, 180 degrees. But if we're dealing with revolutions, it's just easier to go with these numbers, 360 degrees and 2 pi radians. So all this problem is, we learned how to do this back in Algebra 1 towards the end of the year, Algebra 2 towards the middle of the year. We revisited it. We take a unit of rate, let's say it changed so many miles per hour into feet per second. Remember those? We've done those before. That's all this is. This is a rate. We want to convert it to a different unit. And the rate they want is radians on top per second on the bottom. So right now we have revolutions on top over minutes on the bottom. So we have to convert both of those units individually. So I want to convert revolutions into radians, and I know 1 revolution equals 2 pi radians. So I'm going to put 1 revolution on the bottom. I'm going to put 2 pi radians on top. And using just basic facts of fractions, so I write this prettier. A revolution unit on the bottom, a revolution unit on top, we can cancel those just like we would cancel numbers in a fraction. And at this point I'm at radians per minute for a unit. I want radians per second. So radians is good, minutes is bad. So I want minutes to go away, and I know that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So I want minute to go away. Currently minute resides in the denominator. So I need a minute unit in the numerator for cancellation. I'm going to put seconds in the denominator. One of these equals 60 of those. Minute on bottom, minute on top, cancel, cancel. And now looking at my units, I've got radians on top, seconds on the bottom, radians per second's happening there. What's left to do is to evaluate this thing. 3,600 is being multiplied by 2 times pi divided by 60. I can get a calculator to type that in. I happen to notice specifically that 60 goes into 3,600 evenly. It is legal to do that. You can reduce fractions before you multiply. And by doing that, it kind of gets me out of the calculator. 60 times 2 is 120, so I get 120 pi radians per second. And that's exactly the right answer. There's nothing wrong leaving an answer in pi form. The advantage to it is I didn't need to use a calculator. Okay? And all is well there. If I do want to use a calculator, 120 pi. Okay, when you write it just like that on your calculator assumes multiplication. That's what's happening there. Enter. 376.99 is also correct. Just note, this is the exact answer, this is an approximate answer. Exact's always better than approximate, but I'm not going to count either one of those wrong. They're both correct. I could have also, before I divided by 60, I could have just done this times this times this divided by that. 3,600 times 2 times pi divided by 60. You still get the same answer, all right? So keep that in mind that you have that option. I do want to caution you, if you're going to use your calculator, be careful with 2 pi. 2 pi shows up in these all the time. If 2 pi is on the bottom, it's divided by 2 divided by pi. You got to divide them individually. If you say divided by 2 pi, your calculator bumps pi right back up to the top. So if 2 pi is on the bottom, which happens quite often, just be aware of that.